this webinar is going to be geared towards newcomers to the platform. If you're already an expert with EdApp, I should just be transparent and say that today's webinar is not going to be the most valuable for you. What you'll want to do is chime in instead in 2 weeks when we do a webinar on a new product release or a new feature update. And this webinar is going to be recorded. Yes, Ritu. So what are we going to be doing today? Learning about what EdApp is. What are the 4 things that EdApp can do to disrupt training and fix training, as Cliff had mentioned. We're going to be discovering free pre-made pieces of content from our content library. We're going to be discovering methods to have content built for your organization or to build it yourself using our authoring tool. And moving on. Awesome. So let's get started. 4 things that EdApp does, 4 pillars of our software platform. First and foremost, it's the learner app. So what EdApp does is deliver training to an audience. And we do this with a mobile-first application on Android and iOS. We also have a really great desktop app that we'll be looking at later today. It's got world-class features like offline mode, socialization amongst your audience. We've got gamification built in, so it's highly engaging. We have features for repetition, right? You can set up spaced repetition quizzes in the form of a rapid refresh. We can automate that too, called Brain Boost. We can pull questions that your audience members have struggled with in the past and redeliver those questions to them in order to better drive knowledge retention. Apps like Duolingo do this all the time. We also have a built-in authoring tool, right? So how do we get this training across? How do we, as a company, build out the content that our learners are going to need to see? And we do this with a template-based approach. So when you're making lessons on EdApp, these micro lessons, these short and digestible bite-sized chunks of learning, all you have to do is stack up a few templates, each one of them providing a different interaction for your audience, and your lesson is done, right? We're going to be taking a deeper look at this today. Jess is actually going to do a live app demo, and we'll sort of peel back the curtain and let you see what building that content is like. Now, some features that go along with it that we will see, things like automated PowerPoint conversion, translation features, really, really beautiful app design from integrations with Canva, for example, if you're familiar. It's an image editing software. We do get multimedia across. So if you want to have narration, if you want to have video clips in your lessons, that's just as easy as dropping in a line of text or an image. And moving forward.
Apologies, yeah. Cool.
How do we support this mobile application and the content that we're building? We have an editable content library. So this is really compelling. We released this content library within the past year, and it's already skyrocketed upwards of 1,000 courses, both built by our community of authors and clients, as well as our instructional design team. The content library is all material that was made with EdApp's authoring tool, and all of it is free, which means you can import any piece of content on pretty much any vertical or any industry, any pressing or relevant piece of training that you could imagine. Take that into your own EdApp account and author it or edit it with our inbuilt authoring tool. So, a couple of industries that we're really focusing on right now: operations, compliance, sales, leadership, well-being. We have great COVID training in there. We're going to be looking at the content library, and I would love to see some shout outs from the chat. If there's a specific piece of content that you want us to highlight or showcase or bring up on screen to explore, we like that kind of stuff. And then last but certainly not least, for tech geeks like myself, administering. So if you're going to be looking at analytics, what does the completion of my program look like? How is my engagement? How does my audience like the content that I'm delivering to them? What are the survey results that they've delivered to me, right? How am I integrating this piece of software with the rest of my stack, right? If I've got a compliance program and I need my audience on a construction site to be able to climb a ladder safely, and I need to prove that they've taken those lessons, how am I going to go about doing that, right? These are all things that you can easily do with our fully built and robust analytics suite. Perfect. Moving forward. So before we get started with the live app demo, I know we had a webinar about this last time, but I really want to highlight Trade in Your Training. This is an awesome program that we've got going on. It's a new initiative. And what we're doing is we're trying to jumpstart any newcomer to the platform's experience, right? And how does this work? Well, it's quite simple. If you provide us with a PowerPoint, we can take that PowerPoint and build a handful of like 2 or 3 or 4 micro lessons for you. And this is perfect for getting, like I said, getting a head start on this program and having something that you can share with your team in order to showcase what the value add of EdApp is, right? The training that we'll deliver to you is done by our professional instructional design team. So it would be good enough to just deploy to a pilot or test group of, employees at your company. This is a really compelling initiative. There is no catch, and yes, it is free. I mean, I guess the only catch I could think of is that fair use applies. You can't take our stuff and sell it. Yes, but this works. EdApp has an automated PowerPoint conversion tool. We're using that a little bit, but we're actually going through with a fine comb. Our instructional design team is going to be bringing assets to the table, adding engagements and assessments, all through our own authoring tool. And what they make is absolutely gorgeous. All of the material from the content library was built by them, or not all, I should say, but a good amount. And moving forward. We have a question here from Alex. How many courses can you submit? Alex, that is a really good question. Well, just ask us, work with us. It's sort of a floating target. I would say that you can submit somewhere from 1 to 4 or 5 courses or lessons. But we are willing to talk to you. We love working with users. And if you're really excited about EdApp, that's something that excites us as well. Where can I find this? Well, we're going to have our our panelists drop a link in the chat for you to go and submit training if you want that transformed. But you can find it in your admin tool. So just go to, actually, we'll highlight it later, but go to admin.edapp.com and press submit PowerPoint, and you can do it you can automate that process, or you can have us do it for you manually for your first lessons. So how can this help me? Well, with a combination of Trading Your Training and content library, at this point now, you could have a fully fledged and well-built training program on EdApp, like short of a week, with very little effort on your part. If you're going and grabbing courses from our content library and submitting your own SOPs or maybe your own onboarding series, whatever it might be, at this point now, you'll be ready to send invitations out in a very short amount of time. It's easier than ever to get started on EdApp. That's what we're trying to do here. We're trying to empower users to hit that send button as soon as possible. Perfect. Moving forward.
Brilliant. I think we should take a look.
Yeah,
what do you think?
Jess, for the weather.
Over to me. It's raining in Manchester, but it always is. But no, I think it's time that we can start to have a look, see how we're going to be editing this content. We're going to have a look a little bit into branding as well. So how we're going to put your company's stamp on some of the content from our content library. And again, how we're going to get that out to your users. And an important point as well is how we're going to utilize our survey templates to be able to really gather that useful feedback directly from your teams. So that you know that this is going to be kind of a worthwhile investment of your time, being able to bring this to your teams. So yeah, let's rock and roll, shall we?
And Jess, I'll do my best to interrupt you if any questions come in.
Do it. That's what I want. I'm excited for the questions, 100%. But yeah, what we're going to do is we're actually going to start from a great starting point, just with being on edapp.com. So this is going to be where we're going to go and explore our course library. So how are we looking? I'm going to zoom in one just so everyone's got a nice clear view of kind of the process. So along the top here, I'm actually going to take us through to our course library, because this is where we're going to be able to easily start to browse our categories, explore the content, and this is something you can do before you've even created an EdApp account. So we're able to look at some of these lessons and courses, we're able to make some edits and changes to make it fit for our purpose and our company, and then actually create an account and bring that in and start to continue to finesse the content. So you can see at the top here, we've got a handy search bar. So if we wanted to look at a specific topic, maybe sales, well-being, leadership. But if I was just wanting to have a look at the general categories, here we go, browse categories. And you can see we brought out some great lockdown content through COVID. There was some fantastic work in there. My favorite being just about remote working, kind of looking after yourself and being able to structure your days now that a lot of us were working from home. So I'm going to go across here and I'm just going to show you the extent of some of the different categories of content we've got here. So we can see we've got retail, we've got that lockdown package that I mentioned, food and hospitality, which is one area I'm going to dive in today, just because it's particularly relevant for some of us in the UK and around Europe and EMEA, where things are starting to open up again and we're starting to see that glimmer of hope, hopefully, at the end of the tunnel. But yeah, again, we've got some great topics here, especially for management and leadership and really empowering your teams. So let's take a bit of a further deep dive. Like I said, I was going to have a quick look in the food and hospitality, just because for the purpose of this demo, we're going to pretend to be a restaurant. I think it's quite nice. If you don't leave hungry at the end of this session, I haven't done my job well. We've not picked good enough food images. And Chris is laughing. I imagine that you're going to be pretty hungry at the end.
Yeah, I skipped breakfast.
Oh, well, there you go. Exactly. So the aim of the game then is definitely to make Chris hungry at the end and want to go order maybe a pizza or something for breakfast.
Yeah.
But yeah, just to give you an update where we are. So I've opened up that food and hospitality tab, and this is where we can start to see those different type of courses that we've got within the library. Now, whilst I scroll through, you can see we've got these courses here in white, and then we've also got these dark blue courses. And I want to just point out that these are some of the sponsored content from our partners. So we've got some courses here from Marley Spoon around food and mood, and also sustainable eating. And again, these are free for you to be able to bring into your account and share with your users. But just unlike these white courses here, you will be unable to edit them. So for the purpose of this, we're actually going to choose this serving food course, because let's all learn how to make our dinners a little bit more interesting by serving in a creative way to the family at the dinner table. So this is where we've mentioned before that we can start to preview this lesson, again, before we've even created our account. So if I scroll down, I can actually see a preview of what this lesson is going to look like on a mobile device for my user. I can also start to interact with this content. So I'm going to see the journey that the learners are going to be taking whilst they're going through their training that I've provided, that I've pulled in from the course library. So I can see that I've got the choice here to open up these different images for the different areas of this venue. And if I wanted to have a look at some of the other lessons within this course, I can do so just here. So I can open up this course again, scroll through, check out the content. I think it's looking good. I think it's going to fit the purpose of my imaginary restaurant that I'm now starting from my dining room. And I want to go in now and kind of edit this, and we're going to tweak this for the business. So down here, I like what I see. Let's go in and edit this course with this blue button.
What's the name of your pub, Jess? Did I put you on the spot?
No, I was going to think of a really fun pub name then, but off the top of my head, I don't know. I was going to say the Land's End, but that definitely is a pub name, probably. Also an area in Cornwall, but I don't think it's my pub name. I'll think of one. I'll get back to everyone. But yeah, just to give you kind of an overview now. So for some of you that have already got an EdApp account and you've started exploring, this area might look familiar to you. So this is essentially our authoring tool. And for some people that are new here and you're looking at this and going, Jess, Chris, what are you showing me? This is our authoring tool. And to give you just a little bit of a breakdown, you can see it's split into 3 kind of areas within the page. So on the left-hand side, this is where we've got our preview. And again, we can interact with this. We can go through the motions that your learners are going to be going through with their content. In the middle, this is where we're going to be inputting our data. So we're going to be putting in our information. And then on the right, these are our templates. So these are a breakdown of the different templates we've got within our learning. And I can move these around, I can duplicate them, I can delete them. It's really quite responsive, like I said. And then at the bottom, this is where we're going to go to our template library. So if I was wanting to add in some new slides and some more content that's going to be relevant for my business, I can just press this blue button at the bottom here. And this is going to open that library of templates. Now, I always recommend to people, have an explore through this template library, because as you can see, we've got a range of different types of templates that we'll go through in a moment. But also just for content, the use of different media alone can get really exciting, especially for people who are quite creative or really quite keen to get started with creating the content. So you can use images, videos, GIFs or animations. You can also use audio, and if you wanted to add narration, you can do. And the way it works with these slides is we want to make it as easy as possible for you to just kind of plug in that information to populate this slide, and we'll do the heavy lifting. So you know you don't need any instructional design experience or heavy software development skills. I mean, if I can create content, so can you. So right now, this slide that we're on at the moment that I've just been taking us down, these are our content slides. So this is where we're going to be transferring knowledge and we're going to be teaching our learners. And if I was to go to the left-hand side, this is where we've got our different types of templates. So these are some of our interaction slides. So concepts for missing words and sentence structuring. We've got multiple choice, and it's not just the one option for multiple choice. You can really start to get stuck in to see kind of what interactions you want your learners to make with this content, whether it be that you want them to circle the answer, because you know a lot of your users are going to be using tablets or mobile phones. You could use a chat for if you were posing a question in the form of a sentence. So it's always great to have an explore, and you'll start to see as well that you can see how many times these templates have been used and how people have kind of rated them. So have an explore if you haven't already. If I was, to move on, we've got our numbers here for numerical based questions or statistical questions. Then also relationships if we were wanting to pair up related concepts or images. A fun one for a lot as well. We've got games. So it's always quite nice to seal off the end of your learning experience with a game. And then the one that I'd mentioned before, the surveys. So where we're going to be gaining that feedback from the learners. Now, I wanted to actually pull in one of these templates. I think it'd be great for us to start putting in some information so I can show you how easy it is for us to start creating this content. So we've already got a great slide. And for the sake of this demo, I said earlier to Chris, rather than me being Jess's pub, will be Pizza Express, because we know Pizza Express if you're based in the UK, and we can put in a logo, we can brand it and start to give it a great brand feel. So what I'm going to do is to give you the idea of how we can start populating these templates, I'm actually going to pull in this image map template here. So I'm going to click my template. This is going to bring it into the content. And as you can see, it's already taken on the background that had been specified for this course. So this is with the branding. So I'm not having to worry about adding in a new background or anything like that. I can focus on just starting to build out this template. So we've got it pre-populated at the moment, just with this mobile phone, which is handy for me if I just want to go through the motion of how this template works and how my learners are going to interact with it. But let's actually start to populate this now with some of our information. So I'm going to bring in a great image here, just of a restaurant. So here we've got an image of Pizza Express. And what we're going to do here is actually start to edit some of these waypoints. And when I click on a waypoint, it's again going to open up a different image. So, and it's super easy to be able to start to edit this content. So if I wanted to change this initial waypoint, I'm going to click Edit Region. I might bring it down to this table here, make it a little bit larger, save that. And at the moment, I don't really want it to be a mobile. Let's just bring in another image, perhaps just of some more food. Like I said, Chris, this is going to make you hungry now because we're going to be looking at pizzas. We're going to have a great time. But
oh gosh,
yeah, you're watching now. That's it. I've got your attention. Who doesn't love pizza? But yes, we've brought in our image here. If I was to select that waypoint again, we've got our image. Now product text, we can change that easily. We could just put in pizza. We're going to remove the rest of that text for the time being. And right now it's a little bit small. I want it a little bit bigger because right now it just says pizza. It could be some more information perhaps on the offerings of this menu, or a little bit more about how we're wanting to place this on the table, or whatever your content's going to be. And to make this larger, I've highlighted this text. We're going to just zoom up to the top, and I'm going to press that bold button there. So you can see it's put in some asterisks around this and it's made it bold. And if I wanted to just make it a little bit larger, again, I can highlight it, press the A at the top, and it's added in a little hashtag. Now, the more you get used to creating content, you might be able to just use the shortcuts, but for the time being, and if you're like me, I just like to use the buttons because I know I can highlight it and I know where I'm going and I'm not getting lost.
So Jess, this is great. We actually have a question from Cliff Hatch out of Toronto about the Canva integration and sourcing images.
Let's do it. Let's use the Canva integration. So if we scroll down, we've got another waypoint here. Let's edit this one again. We're going to just bring it over here. And the Canva integration you can use within the authoring tool. So when we've got our content slides, we can use the Canva integration for images. And we're also going to go through the Canva integration as well, a little bit with the branding. But if I was to open up Canva, and again, I've just got a free account, so you don't need to have a pro account. You can still use the access to their fantastic images just with the free account. So this has opened up our integration. And along the left-hand side here, we've got the option to perhaps use some of our uploaded images, or we can also use their repository of high quality images. So if I again was to just search maybe server or waiter, let's go. I can search Canva, it's going to pull up all these great images for me, and I can just choose one that's going to fit the purpose. So like this gent here, and I'm just going to stretch it to fill the screen. And we're going to be able to just bring this straight into our content. And if I wanted to add maybe a filter or make it a little bit more jazzy, I could do so with the effects along the top if I wanted to get a little bit Instagram with it. But I think for the purpose right now, this is looking great. And we're just going to publish this and bring this into our content. So by now, you should be starting to get an idea about how to start populating this content. We're just going to be following down the middle section, just inputting that data and following the steps. We can see we've added in our image, we've clicked our waypoint, we've got our gent here who's going to be telling us more about being a server. So I hope that's giving everyone an idea now of how we're going to be filling content. Another template I'm going to bring in now, I'm actually going to show you how we can start to utilize these survey templates. So we actually, within this course, already have one at the end, and this is one of our sliders. So it's saying, how confident are you feeling about the ability? And I also actually want to add in another, because I'm wanting to get a little bit more information. Perhaps want to ask, do they have any feedback on how they find this course? Is there any areas of expansion they want within their training? Is there any areas they feel they could learn more? And we're actually going to use this free text survey slide. And what's fantastic about these survey slides as well is within your analytics, you're able to look at a report which is going to show you the responses based on the course, the lesson, and you can look at that and really use that vital data to perhaps influence future content creating, or perhaps looking at using tools like Rapid Refresh to do refresher quizzes over some areas which they might want to learn a little bit more about. So a nice one here, which is pre-populated, is just, how could you improve this lesson? How could we improve this lesson? Where do you want us to expand? So I think in terms of looking at the authoring tool, I hope everyone's starting to get an idea of how we can start to populate the content that's already provided within the content library. And now what I'm wanting to do is actually, I want to sign up, I want to save this. So I'm going to go up to the top right hand button here, and we're going to sign up to save. So this is because I haven't got an account as of yet. And let's just make a free account.
Okay, so you did all, we didn't even have an account yet, and without a lesson.
That's it. So you've done all that, you've explored, and you've not had to make an account as of yet. And I'm hoping that you've started to see this, you've fallen in love with it, and you're thinking, yeah, Jess, let's do this. Let's create an account. Let's start to brand this for our purpose. Exactly. Let's let Jess's branch of Pizza Express get off the ground. If I could make a password that matches, that's the one thing.
I can see that you've fallen ill to the syndrome I always have, where I can't type on camera. I don't know if that's
100%.
Yep.
I'm going.
Well, I can't type off camera either, but I also can't type on camera.
Off camera, I can type really fast, but again, there's spelling mistakes. And on camera, it looks like I can't type at all. So here we are. I'm just going to start to populate my account a little bit. So I'm in the EMEA region. I'm just going to put in my first name. And what describes me? Fortunately, I can't put small restaurant owner that doesn't exist yet. So let's just put in an instructional designer. I'm getting creative. And we're going to continue. And this is going to bring us through to our account. Now, one thing I want to flag for some of our newer users is when you create an account, you're going to get brought through to this checklist. So this is your getting started checklist. These are going to be the fundamentals for getting you ready within the platform. And you can see we've already actually ticked off 2 of them by just getting started. We've created our profile and we've browsed our content library. Now, what we could do is actually share EdApp with our colleagues, which I'm going to show you soon. We can also start to enroll our learners. And one thing I want to flag as well is that if you're wanting some extra assistance, you've got some questions, or you want to be able to chat to a member of the team about how to start to use the platform to fit your purpose, we've got the options here on the right-hand side for you to book a free one-to-one session. Now, this could be a chance to perhaps talk with us about how you're going to use the platform for your business, and we can provide that extra info. We've got our support center here, which has got some fantastic articles on all the different areas of EdApp. So I could search in there discussions, and it's going to tell me how I can set up a discussion. It's going to walk me through the process. So at no point I'm going to be lost. We've also got our YouTube channel, which has got some fantastic videos. And then we've also got our live chat, which you can also see in the bottom right-hand corner here. So if you've ever got a little question or anything like that, throw it into the live chat and we'll be able to help you out. So we've gone through this page. I'm actually wanting to take us just back to that initial course that we've been working on. So up at the top here, this is our toolbar, and I'm actually going to take us to courseware and down to courses. We're going to go back to that course we've been editing, and we're actually going to start to give it a bit more of a brand feel. So one thing I just want to flag while we're on this page, if it was that you're wanting to go back to the content library, start to look at bringing in more content, up at the top here, we've got the option here for you to access that content library, bring in more content. If you're wanting to look at setting up a rapid refresh quiz, or maybe upload a PowerPoint or access the trade in your training, which Chris mentioned earlier, or even actually create a course from scratch and start creating that content. But for the sake of this, we're going to go back into our course and we're actually going to brand it. We're going to give it a bit more of our feel, because right now it's still looking a little bit generic. I think we need to add in a logo. We want to give it more the feel of Pizza Express for the sake of this. So I've opened up our course. Right now, what we're looking at is a breakdown of our lessons. So these are the lessons included within this course. And we're actually going to go across these tabs here. So we've got branding, which is where we are going to hop into in a minute. We've also got our access rules, and then also briefcase and engagement and completion. So definitely have an explore of these to kind of get a feel for how you can start to edit your course to fit the purpose for yourselves. So back into branding. I think it'd be great for us to add in a logo, start to give it that feel, and also, yeah, add in a bit of the in-app branding. So to just give you guys a walkthrough of where we are right now, these are the different options for you to be able to, make the content feel like your own. If it was that you've got anyone in your team who's a bit more experienced with custom CSS, there's the option for that down there. And you can see that our designers have already got that in. But if you're like me and you're not really not big into instructional design and graphic design, I normally like to ignore that because these buttons do the job perfectly for me.
That's a perfect candidate for the live chat. So if you have no idea what CSS is, but you're excited about it, just ask us in the chat and we can do it for you.
100%. So you can see here as well, I'm going to flag that we've got 2 options. We've got the option just to upload an image, or again, we've got that option to open up the Canva integration and be able to use images from there and be able to edit our images. So for a thumbnail, I'm just going to upload an image and we're going to start to tweak it, change it a little bit. But I hope everyone at home is starting to see how easy it is for us to be able to start making these changes. So let's go. So we've added in a thumbnail. We can see on the left-hand side here as well, we've got a preview. So the thumbnail is actually going to be an image that's for the admin view. So this is where when we're looking at our courses, we can start to visually differentiate our different courses. Now, when it comes to the cover image, this is the image that your learner is going to see when they're looking at their course content. And then over here on the right-hand side, we've got our option for adding in a background if we wanted to change the background, as well as our logo, and then also the ability to change the color scheme. So if we didn't want an image of the background, we could actually just change it to a different color. So maybe green with white text, black with white text, whatever you want. I actually quite like the background image on this course, so I'm going to leave it as is, but I do want to just use our integration on Canva just to show you a few little tips for when you're starting to use this integration to maybe edit some of your images. especially for cover images or background images where we know we're going to have a text overlay. So I've already uploaded this image prior, and I'm just going to right click and I'm going to set this image as the background to just easily fill the space. If I wanted to just change the positioning, I can double click it. I might just get in a few more pizzas to make Chris even more hungry at home. And right now, this image.
Oh, sorry, go ahead, Jess.
It's all right. I was hoping you were just going to say, yeah, pizzas, that's for lunch now. But yeah, right now, because this image is going to be our cover image, if we had text over it, it's still a little bit too busy for it to be really legible for the users. So I mentioned before, if you want to get a little bit Instagram with it and add effects, this is where this is a perfect opportunity to use those effects. So whether it be adding in a filter to change the images slightly or make some adjustments, but really what I want to use is come over here to the right and change the transparency. And what we're going to do is lower this down, and it's going to make that image a bit lighter. We can still see it, we can still see the pizzas and that it's a great image. But now when we've got that text overlay on it, it's going to be a little bit less busy, and it means that our users are going to be able to read that text easily. So you can see on the preview here, it's changed our image and we've got black text. And if it was that we had a slightly darker image, we could easily go down here, change the text to white. But as you can see, we won't be able to see it. So let's just change it back to black. So there, we've started to brand our course. I think if we had a logo, it'd be great for us to take a quick look at how it's looking for us. And to do so, yeah, we're just going to go back to our lessons tab. I'm going to just open up one of our lessons here, and you can start to see it's taken on some of that branding for us. It's got our logo on, and it's started to give it a little bit more dimension, and we can start to give it our brand feel. And that's why I think it's a great place for us now to just lead on to how we're going to start sharing this course with maybe our colleagues or a group for a trial, or even just directly to our users. So right now we've been sat in along the toolbar, we've been in the courseware tab. We're actually going to go next door to that, and we're going to go to users. And if I go down to invite users, this is going to give us some of our options of being able to invite our users to EdApp. So if I wanted to just invite a few users individually, I could easily put in their email addresses, select whether I wanted them to be an admin or a learner, and also change the email subject line there. So I could say, well, it already says here, you've been invited to join EdApp by Jess, but I could be like, you've got some great learning, like come test it out, anything that's going to work for you guys and for your team. If I actually had quite a lot of users I was wanting to invite, we can use our bulk upload function here, where I can download our template, easily fill that in with the details of our users and upload that. And again, we can edit our subject line and send out those invitations. Now, if it was that you didn't have the email address of your users, we do also have the option to invite using invite code, which is what we're going to do for the purpose of this demo. So I'm going to click over here to invite code, and we're going to enable the universal invite code for us. So let's just put in webinar 123, just for the sake of this. Now I've got my logo, so I could display a custom logo here, which I'm going to do because we've been using a customer Pizza Express logo. So let's go ahead with that one. And if I wanted to, I could also enable a verification so that I can see who's registering with that invite code before they have access to the LMS. Now, if I wanted to have specific registration fields provided as well while my users are signing up, I can also enable them to provide their first name, perhaps their last name as well, so I can keep track of my users. And also maybe the store name if I was working with multiple different regions. So we've set up our invite code. Now what we're going to want to do is actually for the users, this is great for you to be able to explain to them how they can start to sign up with their invite code. So we've been right now in admin.edapp.com, which is the LMS side of things. This is where yourself as an admin is going to be creating the content, managing your users, and managing your account. Now, for your learners, they've got the option to sign into EdApp on our native apps on Apple or Android, or they can also use desktop. And for the purpose of the demo, so we're not going between plenty of screens, we're going to be just signing up using the desktop app, website. So this is web.edapp.com. Now, when it comes to actually creating an account, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit so everyone can see a bit clearer. We've got the button here, create an EdApp account, does what it says on the tin. And I've got the option here for me to add in my email address And then below, this is where we can add in our invite code. So this is going to, when I'm creating my account, put me into your account. I'm in the right place. I've got access to my content for work, and I can kind of crack on with my training. So again, I might just set up another webinar, another email address, hoping that I can type on screen again. I'm going to put in my invite code, and then I can continue through the process of setting up. So I've got my invite code. I can set myself up with a password. And then I can start to register my account. Now, I've just realized that we haven't actually published our course. So right now I'm seeing a blank screen. So if I take us back over just to the LMS, back to our courseware tab, we've got our one course here, and you can see it's a light gray. Right now it's not published, but if I press this button just down here, it's going to turn to blue. This is now going to be instantly available for my learners. So if I refresh my learner page, here we go. We've got our course. It's ready for our learners to take. It's taken no time at all really for us. We've done it in less than an hour. We've brought in a course from the content library. We've branded this for our business, and we've got it out to our learners. I think that in itself is great. We're saving so much time.
Bravo. Yeah. We have a question from Christine about customization of those registration fields, if you wanted to make specific custom ones.
Yeah, so Chris, do you want to answer that one? I think that one might be best for you.
Absolutely. Yeah, Christine, you certainly can set custom registration fields. So if you wanted to collect, for example, employee ID number, something along those lines, job title or role, you can configure, there's some pre-configured ones there, and you can build your own. There's also a specific one for compliance, which will allow you to put a box of text and give your users the check to agree interaction. And this all happens in the registration flow. You can set that up under admin.edapp.com/invite code. And you can also set up specific invite code registration fields for different roles at your company or different user groups.
Yeah. Have you got any more questions? I think this would be a great time for us to move into, any more of the Q&A portion.
We do. We have a question from T here asking about analytics. So if you want to bring up that dashboard, I really love this new dashboard we just published.
Of course.
Oh, and by the way, just while we're on the topic, at this point now we're moving into Q&A. So if there's something that you guys want to see, definitely let us know. We can bring it up on screen. Brilliant. Lucy Alexander asks, you get notifications for course completions? That's a great question. We'll bring up the analytics suite and we'll explain how that process goes.
Brilliant. So I'm proud of our new dashboard. Obviously, this is a new account, so it's still looking a little bit on the bare side just because we haven't got our users in. They haven't started completing those courses and filling this up with that data. But yeah, in terms of the analytics suite, we've got a range of different kind of reports that are going to allow you to look at the different areas on a really granular level, whether this be looking at your login statistics. So if someone's been saying to you, but I logged in, I've completed the course, you can go in and be like, don't think you have. But you can also then start to see, course completions in a breakdown by your users. Again, you can look at those survey responses, which we've mentioned earlier in the session. And also start to just look at kind of where your users are at. And what's quite nice as well is you can start to see perhaps gaps in knowledge and where you can influence further training. So yeah, I always recommend, it's really fantastic to kind of have a look through, and some of these reports as well, you're able to export as well if you see fit and you'd like to do that. So did you have a specific question about the performance dashboard, Chris?
It doesn't look like it. I'm just taking a look at the chat section right now. And Cliff H in Toronto asks, can you talk about how to structure and influence microlearning sessions for users? Specifically, how to take a look and prompt, how do we prompt users to be taking these lessons? I think he's asking about features like push notifications, reminders, and potentially some of the features under the Engage tab.
Yeah, definitely. So one quite nice feature, which I'll mention just in terms when we're mentioning the push notifications, under user groups here, which is one of our pro features, you do have the option to send a custom push notification for a specific user group. So if you had, say, a new user group with new content available for them, you could send a custom push notification saying, hey guys, this content is available for you. Log in to start taking this. Within our analytics as well, under our activity feed, I believe, we also, no, sorry. Sorry, I'm on a free account right now. I was going to pull up one of our other reports within the pro features, which is one of our actionable reports, but my account right now doesn't have access to it. So I'm going to skip that. I'm going to skip that part because I can't show you it. But yeah, sorry, go on. Was there a second part to the question then, Chris? Sorry, my mind blanked after that.
Yeah, I think it had to do with push notifications reminding users or engaging with users about the release or the launch of content.
Yeah, so do you want to just talk on that, just so I don't want to get lost again in the LMS anyway, from confusion on my part?
No worries at all. Yeah, so to answer that question, Cliff, we have a number of features with engaging your audience. You have the ability to remind users that new content's been developed or deployed on an automated basis. So that if they haven't taken that content, they'll wake up in the morning and see on their mobile device that there's a ping for them to jump in. We also have the ability for you to manually do that. If you wanted to send a push notification to all of your users or a subset, a user group, if you will, to remind them that there's a new piece of training that's mandatory for compliance purposes that they need to be completing, and they should be going into, click here to start EdApp and take that, lesson right now. You can do that. You can also send notifications from the admin suite as an email. On top of that, we do have performance reports. So you can filter users for their completion. So if you wanted to filter out a subset of users from a specific user group that have low completion for a specific course, and that would take you 30 seconds to do, it would give you a list of users that need a bit of a nudge, and there's a single button that you can click to give all of them a nudge at once. So it makes delivering those reminders, really easy. We've got a couple of questions here. I'm actually just sifting through them, Jess. T asks, do we have an account that's been pre-populated with analytics data? Do you think we could bring that up, Jess?
Yeah, one moment.
Test users 2019, I believe it is.
Yeah.
It'll take us a few minutes to do so. And while we do, I'm just going to read through the questions. Judith is asking about specific registration codes for user groups. Judith, absolutely, you can do that. We've set up a universal invite code that will allow anyone to register for our entire account. But if you've got user groups can all have their own independent user codes, or invite codes, I should say.
I believe I'm in the right account. Test projected, yeah.
That's the one.
Brilliant. Fantastic. So was there a specific report that we were wanting to look into, Chris?
Well, I think performance dashboard is probably going to give us the best overview. Taking a look at our questions here, a knowledge pre-test as a measure, that would be a really good opportunity for us to bring up rapid refresh. Definitely. All right, sweet. So here we have on screen the performance dashboard T. You wanted to see this, you wanted to see an example of a report that had been populated with data. So what we did is we've got a test account here that our team went through and populated. And here we can see, for example, some of our highest performing courses with their completion rate and the number of completions that they've got, as well as some of the ones that are falling behind, may need a little bit of authoring work on those courses. We can also have a breakdown of our performing user groups. On the top, we have overview selected, but we can pick user groups, for example, and take a look at our various stores or locations, teams, roles at our company. And we can see some data going across, like their activity, their average score, and their completion data. And we can sort this all by group, by date. We can move up and we can take a look, instead of user groups, at specific courses or even specific users. So we can get really granular about this. Let's take a look at courses. And here we can see some of the lessons that we've authored. What is the completion data looking like? What's the average score? And this is really interesting, the average amount of time spent in minutes on that lesson. And we can see it's usually a single digit. That's perfect. That's what we're aiming for. We want these lessons to be short and sharp. Awesome. We've got a lot of questions here, Jess. I shouldn't be so surprised. But we have a question here about making content mandatory and also setting up a pathway or a journey using prerequisites or playlists. Do you think you can talk us through that?
Yeah, of course. I'm going to take us back to our courses page here. Now, I'd mentioned before when we went over branding that there was a few different tabs. So actually, we'll go through from this account. So we're just going to pick this fall protection course here. So again, we've opened up our course. We're looking at it on a course level. So we've got a breakdown of our lessons here. And previously we were in the branding tab. Now, in terms of making this course mandatory, if we go along to the access rules tab here, we've got an option for this course to be determined perhaps by a set of dates. So if we knew that we wanted a date for this to be completed by, if not, we can just untick that. But we can also then set this as a mandatory course and have a due date for it. And again, this is optional. It's up to you whether you want to enable this. And then if we were utilizing user groups, this is where we can start to specify whether this course is available universally for our users or whether it's just available for a certain group of users. Again, we can easily just click the user groups. That's going to move them across, and that means that this content's available for them. Now, in terms of prerequisites, this would be just below. I'm going to select a course which isn't translated. So if you bear with me one moment, and then we can go through using prerequisites to start to build a user journey, how they're going to be working their way through this content. So again, I've opened up a course. We've got our lessons in front of us. This is a great one actually just to show the use of modules as well. So we can see that this has been added into a module. But back up here to the access rules. So if I'm just scroll down, this is where I can start to preference a prerequisite for this course. So the journey that that user is going to take. And again, it's just as simple as clicking them to move them over and start to arrange them, or just for this sake, we'll move them back. Yeah, that's how we can start to build that journey for the user.
That's perfect. We've got a question here about user groups. User groups are a pro feature of EdApp. Everything we've been doing up to the point where we've mentioned user groups has been completely for free. Do you think you could show us how we would go about unlocking that feature, Jess?
Yeah, of course. So upgrading our account to a pro account, sorry, and then yeah. So right now we're just in our course, we're in our account, and next to in the top right corner, sorry, we've got an option here which says explore plans. Now, depending on whether you've made the most of your free trial of the pro plans, it may look slightly different depending on where you are within your journey within EdApp. But if I'm just to open this up, yep.
We're in a sandbox environment here, so this may look a little bit different than what you'll see.
Definitely. So yeah, it's taken us through here to our pricing plan. So yeah, as Chris mentioned, up until user groups, what we've been doing before has all been included within the free plan, which is great for if you've got a smaller team or you're a smaller business and you're wanting to just get started with your digitalized learning journey. Now, if you were a slightly bigger organization and you're wanting to utilize user groups, these are a feature within our pro account. So we've got our pro growth and our pro plus, and these both here are subscriptions as well. So this is going to be a subscription plan for you, which you pay for monthly. And you can see in terms of the features, we've got a bit of a difference here with the features that are included. And as you can see, when we go down, user groups are here for our pro plans. And again, this is a great way for just being able to segment your users and ensure the learning content is relevant for that user group, and they're not seeing, they haven't got access to everything. So this was where you'd be able to perhaps utilize a 30-day free trial of the pro plans, or even just upgrade if you've already experienced that trial. Now, Chris, do you want me to walk through the process of actually setting up a user group, or what are you thinking?
I think that would be valuable to see. Before we leave this page, if you do have any questions about this, and you want some advice on which plan is right for you, or if you're looking to hear back on an enterprise plan, I've went ahead and dropped all of our email addresses here in the chat. You can also talk to us right away using the live chat button down at the bottom right-hand side of the screen.
Bro, yeah.
And
so I'm going to just go on.
Oh, sorry to cut you off there, Jeff. I don't see any more questions. So I think that with user groups, let's take a look at that, and that might wrap us up for today.
Yeah, brilliant. So yeah, back across to our users tab here. We're going to go down to user groups, and it's super easy to start creating user groups. It's nothing too nuts. So right now we're in our test account, so we've got quite a lot of user groups you can see here, but to set one up, it's just this blue button on the right hand side. I'm going to create a new user group. We can name our user group, so we'll just put Jess's test. And this is where I can enable whether I'd like it to be registration with an invite code. I could also invite my users via email and kind of bring them into the group. So we've got existing users here. Again, I could just click them, move them over into this user group. If it was that I wanted to assign a manager to this user group, so someone who's going to have access to a manager report and see a breakdown of their users and the course completions, I can do so easily here. And also I can start to specify if there's certain courses which are available for this user group, because like I say, if you've got multiple teams, not every course is going to be relevant for perhaps if your finance department in comparison to maybe your kitchen staff. If we were a restaurant, that content might not be relevant. So you can start to specify which courses are going to be available for them. So once we've set up our user group, yeah.
Earlier, Judith from the UK wanted to see the invite codes specific to user groups. Do you think you could check that for me?
Yeah, of course. So here we go. We've checked our user group invite code. And here we go. We can start to put in our invite code. And when a user goes through the process we went through earlier with signing up, if they were using an invite code, which was linked to a user group, when they use that invite code to sign up, it's going to just drop them straight into their user group. So you know they're exactly in the right place that they need to be. And again, you've got that option to enable verification if you want just that extra security level there. And I just want to highlight as well one point when we were talking about push notifications and just being able to send out those kind of little communications. And you could also do that here on a user group level. So it could be heads up, you've got some new content, or if you've just invited them, heads up, welcome to EdApp, check out your account, check out your new content. And then, yeah, I could just easily save this and I've set up my user group and they're ready to go. Yeah, how are we looking on the questions, Chris? Do you think we're getting towards the end?
Well, they're piling in. Our audience is highly engaged today. Solomon asks, is the authoring tool available for free? Yes, Solomon. The authoring tool and every feature associated with the authoring tool comes with every plan, including the free plan. Wow, our audience was awesome today, Jess.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's any more. Oh, sorry about that. I don't know if there's any more questions for us, unless anyone wanted to sneak one in before we call it a show. And I think we've covered all the bases.
Fantastic.
So Jess, thank you for jumping on and hosting this presentation with me. This has been awesome. I'm now rethinking my stance on hosting webinars on an empty stomach. Thanks to you. And to our audience, thank you for the engagement. Great questions today. We look forward to seeing you on our next webinar. Suzette asks about the recording. Yes, we'll email all of you guys with the recording so that we can share and rewatch. And Jess, have a great afternoon.
Yeah, I hope everyone has a good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. Like we said, we've had a global audience today. It's been great.
It's a global operation.
That's it.
All right. Cheers, everyone.